As many of you know, Morgana just received a rather substantial buff to her jungle clear, making her one of the best junglers on the current patch. However, due to the fact that Morgana is a new jungler, people are still uncertain how to build her. Currently, Morgana is being built with one of two mythics, one being Liandry's Anguish and the other being Everfrost. While both these builds have their strengths and synergies with Morgana, I am actually going to argue that the best mythic on the current patch for Morgana jungle is Rocketbelt. I'll be comparing both the Liandry's and Everfrost builds to the Rocketbelt build, and breaking down step by step why Rocketbelt is the best build for her. By the end of this video, hopefully you will be convinced to give the build a try and get some free LP playing Morgana jungle. Before I break down the numbers comparison, I will introduce what the Rocketbelt build is. First off, the only downside of going Rocketbelt is that the item does not provide mana. However, in order to combat that, you will build like this. On first base, you will grab a tier and either 1 to 2 amplifying tomes. Then you will build Rocketbelt, Sorc Shoes, and then Seraph's Embrace. You can go Zhonya's before you finish Seraph's if you are versus heavy AD or heavy engage, but if you trust your positioning, you can hold off on going Zhonya's until third item. After that, you can go Void Staff into Deathcap. The rune setup will be Dark Harvest, Cheap Shot, Eyeball Collection, and Ingenious Hunter, with Transcendence and Water Walking. Ingenious Hunter is an important rune to take here because it reduces the cooldown of Rocketbelt by about 15 seconds when fully stacked, and also increases the speed in which you can stack your tier. Before I break down the numbers comparison between the other builds, let me briefly explain what makes this build work. First off, you need to understand Morgana's damage profile. While her W is technically a damage over time ability, the majority of her damage comes in the form of burst. Therefore, you want to build items that play towards her strengths as a burst champion. Due to Rocketbelt's new flat Magic Pen stat and Magic Pen Mythic passive, it provides more burst than both Liandry's and Everfrost. Additionally, Seraph's Embrace is the highest ability power item you can possibly buy besides Deathcap, and it makes for a very suitable and valuable second item. Going Rocketbelt and Seraph's Embrace fit Morgana's damage profile a lot better than the other two options. However, if you need more proof, let's get into the numbers comparison between the three builds. Now I'm going to throw up the stats on screen for what each build will look like at 2 items. With the Liandry's build, Liandry's, Lucidity Boots, and Demonic Embrace, at 2 items you will have roughly 200 ability power, 55 ability haste, no flat magic pen, 350 HP, 600 bonus mana, and the burn effects. Now if we do a side-by-side comparison with the Rocketbelt build, with Rocketbelt, Sorc Shoes, and Seraph's Embrace being the 2-item power spike, you will have roughly 250 ability power, 29 flat magic pen, 25 ability haste, 250 HP, 1100 bonus mana, and the Rocketbelt active. If you compare the raw stats of these two builds, you'll see that the Rocketbelt build gives you an additional 50 ability power, 29 flat magic pen, and 500 more mana, while only losing 100 HP and 30 ability haste between the two builds. In comparison, having 50 more ability power and 29 more flat magic pen is astronomically more valuable at 2 items than the Liandry's build. I also strongly believe that Rocketbelt is a stronger 1-item power spike than Liandry's is. You can make an argument for the Liandry's build versus a team with 2 to 3 tanks, but Morgana's damage profile will never be optimal at taking down tanks, no matter how you build her. I think you're better off just going Rocketbelt and trying to one-shot the squishies. Now to compare the Everfrost build, which I think is a much closer race. With the Everfrost build, you will go Everfrost, Lucidity Boots, and Zhonya's, and at 2 items you will have 200 ability power, no flat magic pen, 60 ability haste, 250 HP, 600 bonus mana, 45 armor, and the Everfrost Zhonya's active. You'll see that Rocketbelt provides an additional 50 ability power, 29 flat magic pen, 500 bonus mana, and the same HP as the Everfrost build. The aspects you lose out on is 40 ability haste and the actives from both Zhonya's and Everfrost. Based on the raw stats alone, you can clearly see that the Rocketbelt build is superior at 2 items, but where the build closely competes is in how valuable the Everfrost active is for Morgana. On paper, going Everfrost basically guarantees that you hit your Q, which is a major reason why you go Everfrost on Morgana. However, the value that you get out of Everfrost goes down as the game goes on, because the enemy team can start itemizing Merc Treads and stacking their Legend Tenacity rune. This is why I personally think Everfrost is a little bit overrated because of how its active can lose value on top of the fact that the raw stats from the build are significantly worse. Let me finally explain the value of the Rocketbelt active and why it is so good. In teamfights, the majority of your damage and value on Morgana is going to come from your ultimate. That is why Flash has always been so valuable on Morgana, because you often need to flash into the enemy to get a good ultimate. However, not only does Rocketbelt give you a dash, but it also gives you movement speed briefly after using it. And with Rocketbelt being on a 30-second cooldown, you basically have a mini flash every fight you take. Rocketbelt takes the generally linear playstyle that is Morgana and turns her into a much more dynamic champion. It gives you a gap closer to get your ult off even on champions who have flash or dashes. It gives you a dash of your own to get out of danger, and it generally just helps with positioning.
I'm in danger!
I think if you know how to use Rocketbelt properly, the potential value that you can get out of it is significantly higher than both Everfrost and Liandry's. Well, that is going to be it for the video. This is my first time making a guide video on an off-meta build.
So that was a fucking lie.
So if you have any criticisms on how we presented the information, or if you have any further questions about the build, be sure to let me know in the comments. If you found this video helpful, I would greatly appreciate it if you would drop a like, as it really helps get this video to more people. I hope I was able to convince you to give the build a try, and I look forward to hearing about how it goes. Thank you all for watching, and see you next time.